Hey guys, it's Sports13 here, and today I'm going to be doing another wacky bracket. This one, I will be using the College Basketball Game Simulator on the NCAA Game Simulator website to predict all these games until we have a national champion. Yep, just like last year, but something I didn't even know is that the NCAA Game Simulator website itself, if you go under here where it says tournaments and select NCAA tournament itself, it will show you all of the matchups of the March Madness tournament that you could simulate on the website. So that way it's a much quicker way, other than just using, just the simulator where you don't have to basically scroll down and basically try to find any of the teams for each of the matchups. But anyways, let's just get started with this bracket predicted by the NCAA Game Simulator. So we start off with all the first four games first. So our first four game is St. Francis against Alabama State. And we'll just put it through here. So this is our first four game. By the way. It's taking a while. For some reason it's not showing. I don't know why. Oh yeah, I have to press the submit button. All right, for our first four game, it has Alabama State beating St. Francis. Oh, that might be one of St. Francis' older logos. And just like last year, for all of these winners of each of the first four games, we will write them down here. So yep, Alabama State. Then our next first four game will be North Carolina and San Diego State. So there's North Carolina right there, and then San Diego State. Battle of the two runners-up of the 2022 and 2023 March Madness tournaments, respectively. And let's see who it picks. And it picks North Carolina to win it all. To win that first four game, actually, is what I meant. It picks North Carolina to win that first four game. And now on to our third first four game. It is Mount St. Mary's and American. Mount St. Mary's against American. And it looks like we got American beating Mount St. Mary's. Yep, American winning against Mount St. Mary's. For some reason, it is not showing Mount St. Mary's logo on there. That's alright. I don't know why it doesn't show Mount St. Mary's logo when they should. And then our last first 4 game we got is Xavier and Texas. And that first 4 game is in the Midwest region. So who comes out of this first 4 game? And it is Texas by 3. Texas Longhorns winning that last first 4 game. So there's all of our first 4 winners according to the NCAA Game Simulator. So anytime we go to any games that have any of those first 4 games, or that has any of those first 4 teams, then we check right here. And now this is where the real fun starts, the main bracket. And now on to the main bracket itself. So starting off, we got Auburn against either Alabama State and St. Francis, in which the simulation thinks had Alabama State winning out of that first 4 games. So here we go. Our first game in the main bracket, and it's going to go with Auburn. And out of those 2 Alabama schools, it will go with Auburn moving on. Next up is Louisville and Creighton. And it's got Louisville beating Creighton. Yep, it's going to go with Louisville beating Creighton in the Battle of the Birds. And then we got Michigan against UC San Diego. UC San Diego making their first ever March Madness appearance in their first year of being eligible to play in the March Madness tournament. Against the Big Ten tourney champs, Michigan. And who does it pick here? And it's going to go with the experienced one in Michigan. Yep, so it has Michigan moving on there. Yeah, for some reason it's not showing UC San Diego's logo on the NCAA Game Simulator website. All right. Anyways, next game it is Texas A&M and Yale. For some reason, it doesn't want to show Texas A&M's. Didn't show Texas A&M there at first, but now we put them in there, and now we simulate that game. And moving on in that game is Yale. Hail Yale! It is Yale pulling off the upset there as the Ivy League magic strikes again. All right. Next game is Ole Miss and against either San Diego State or North Carolina, where it is actually going to be against North Carolina according to the NCAA Game Simulator website. And it goes with Ole Miss, taking out North Carolina in overtime. So Ole Miss moves on. The next game we have is Iowa State and Lipscomb. And it has Iowa State moving on. The next game we have up is Marquette and Los Lobos of New Mexico. And it will have Marquette moving on by 3 points against Los Lobos. So Marquette wins there. Next up is Michigan State and Bryant. And it will have Michigan State go to the second round past Bryant. We're going to go region by region, so that way it is much easier. As our second round game in this region, accordingly, it is Auburn against Louisville. And it will have Louisville upsetting Auburn as Louisville goes to the Sweet 16. And then the next game we have is Michigan and Yale. And it's got Michigan State. No, Michigan actually. Michigan going to the Sweet 16. Yep. So we got Louisville and Michigan against each other in the Sweet 16 rematch of the 2013 national title game. All right, the next game we have up on here is Iowa State and Ole Miss. Whoop, looks like Wi-Fi has gone out there and it's already back. All right, who does it pick here? Ole Miss to the Sweet 16. Next up is Michigan State and Marquette. Michigan State and Marquette. And we got Michigan State. And now starting off with our Sweet 16. And in our Sweet 16, we got Michigan against Louisville. And we got Louisville continuing their run as they beat Michigan in the Elite Eight. To go to the Elite Eight, actually. And now we go to the other Michigan school in Michigan State against Ole Miss. And we will have Michigan State go to the Elite Eight. And now for our Elite Eight matchup, we got Michigan State and Louisville. Will Louisville complete the Michigan gauntlet? They will not complete the Michigan gauntlet, as Michigan State will go to the Final Four. So our first Final Four team we have is Michigan State, according to the NCAA Game Simulator website. Now we go down to the West region, so simulate all of its games. So the first one we'll start off with is Florida and Norfolk State. And we have Norfolk State upsetting Florida. It picks Norfolk State to upset Florida. A 16 seed winning. Wow. Can you believe it? First time that it picks a 16 seed to beat a 1 seeding, even though this is only my second year doing the NCAA Game Simulator website simulating these games. Wow. Unbelievable. Didn't see that one coming. Alright, next game. Yukon and Oklahoma. And it is going to go with Oklahoma taking out the defending back-to-back champs. Next game we have is Memphis against Colorado State. And it's going to go with Colorado State upsetting Memphis. Next game is Maryland against Grand Canyon. And it's going to go with Grand Canyon upsetting Maryland. So Grand Canyon moves on. Our next game is Missouri against Drake. And it's gonna go with Drake barely moving on past Missouri as they upset them. And then we got Texas Tech and UNC Wilmington. And it's gonna go with UNC Wilmington upsetting Texas Tech. What is going on with all these upsets? Yeah, very nice logo that they have there. One of their alternate or older logos or something like that for UNC Wilmington. Our next game is Kansas against Arkansas. Battle of two of the best college basketball coaches ever in Bill Self and Calipari. And out of those two legendary coaches, it will be Bill Self and Kansas. Moving on. So, yep, Kansas beating Arkansas. And then we have St. John's and Omaha. And it's going to go with St. John's moving on. Yes, that is supposed to be St. John's. And for some reason, the NCAA Game Simulator website isn't showing St. John's logo either. I don't know why. Anyways, now we go on to our second round here. So we do go to our second round now, as we got 16 seed Norfolk State against 9 seed Oklahoma. And it goes with 16 seed Norfolk State to the Sweet 16. Whoa! Unbelievable. Alright, next up we got a pair of double-digit seeds here between Colorado State and Grand Canyon. Which one of those two double-digit seeds will get to go up against Norfolk State? And it is Colorado State going to the Sweet 16 in the battle of the green teams on St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to y'all, for those that don't even know. And next game, it is 11 seed Drake and 14 seed UNC Wilmington. So another pair of double-digit seeds. Yeah, so far this West region here that the NCAA Game Simulator has predicted has been crazy. And the craziness is going to continue as UNC Wilmington goes to the Sweet 16. Wow. And then our last second round game, we just have St. John's and Kansas. And it's going to go with St. John's beating Kansas. And now we go into our Sweet 16. First up, out of the two Sweet 16 games in the West, battle of the two green teams that are lucky enough to not be pinched by leprechauns on St. Patrick's Day, Norfolk State and Colorado State. And it will be Colorado State moving on to the Elite Eight as they end Norfolk State's run. And then next up we do have UNC Wilmington against St. John's. And it will be St. John's ending UNC Wilmington's run, as in the Elite Eight, we have a 12 seed against a 2 seed in the West region, which is St. John's against Colorado State. And joining the Final Four is Colorado State to the Final Four. So far we got battle of the green teams in the Final Four. Maybe it's because it's St. Patrick's Day today or something. Maybe that's why all the green teams are starting to be lucky. So now let's find out who our other two Final Four teams are as we now simulate all the games in the last two regions. So now we go on to Duke's region here in the East. So starting off is Duke against American. So we got to simulate the one against American. And in that game, it will have Duke. Moving on. Next up, we got Mississippi State and Baylor. And it's going to go with Mississippi State, moving on past Baylor. And then we got Oregon going up against Liberty. And it's got Oregon flying past Liberty, 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 Liberty. And then we got Akron in Arizona. And we got Akron moving on. Arizona, actually. Arizona moving on is what I meant. Arizona moving on. And here we got BYU and VCU. And it has BYU moving on past VCU. Next game is Wisconsin and Montana. And it has Montana upsetting Wisconsin. So here we go, another 14 seed moving on. Next up, we got St. Mary's and Vandy. And And it's going to go with St. Mary's moving on past Vanderbilt. And then we got Alabama against Robert Morris. And it's got Robert Morris upsetting Alabama. Now we move on to the second round, in which we got Duke against Mississippi State. And it will have Duke moving on. And then the next game is Oregon against Arizona. And it will have Arizona moving on. Our next game is BYU against Montana. And out of those two Western schools, it will have BYU going to the Sweet 16. And then our last second round game here of the West region, we got St. Mary's and Robert Morris. And it will have St. Mary's moving on. So starting in our Sweet 16 now, we got Duke and Arizona. And it will have Duke going to the Elite Eight. And then we got BYU and St. Mary's. And in that one, we got St. Mary's to the Elite Eight. And now our Elite Eight game has Duke against St. Mary's. Joining Michigan State and Colorado State, we have St. Mary's to the Final Four. So far we got a 2 seed, a 12 seed, and a 7 seed. Now we got one more region to go until we have our Final Four of the NCAA Game Simulator. So in our first game of this Midwest region, with Houston against SIUE, we got Houston moving on. So the only 16 seed to beat a 1 seed in this NCAA Game Simulator is Norfolk State. Next up in the Battle of the Bulldogs is Gonzaga against Georgia. And it has Gonzaga moving on. Then we got Clemson and McNeese. And it has McNeese beating Clemson. Then we have Purdue and High Point. It has Purdue chugging along to round 2. And then we got Illinois against Texas and Xavier, in which it is Texas that they'll go up against in the battle of 2 orange teams. And going to the second round will be Texas. Texas moving on to the second round. And then we have Kentucky and Troy. And it has Troy upsetting Kentucky. The upset craziness continues. Next up is Utah State against UCLA. The battle of the blue teams. And it is Utah State who moves on. And our last first round game here, it is Tennessee against Wofford. And it's got Tennessee moving on. That's Wofford. And now for the second round, Houston versus Gonzaga. This thing is taking a while. And it will have Houston barely moving on past Gonzaga in overtime to the Sweet 16. And next up is Purdue and McNeese. And we got Purdue moving on. And then next up we got, I believe it is Texas against Troy. Yep, I had to make sure that first 4 team was Texas. And out of those 2 double-digit seeds, we have Texas to the Sweet 16. And then last second round game of the simulation, it is Tennessee against Utah State. And it looks like we will have Tennessee to the Sweet 16 as they take down Utah State. So in our Sweet 16, starting off, we got Houston against Purdue. Going to the Elite Eight is Purdue taking out Houston. So all the 1 seeds are now gone. And none of them have even made the Elite Eight, or has one of them made the Elite Eight. I think it was Duke who made it to the Elite Eight in this simulation. And our other Sweet 16 game is Tennessee and Texas. Yep, it's the battle of the orange teams. Let's start with T. And it is Texas upsetting Tennessee to go to the Elite Eight. Sorry, Miss Mace. And in our Elite Eight, we have Purdue against Texas. And joining Michigan State, Colorado State, and St. Mary's to the Final Four will be Purdue, beating Texas in an overtime thriller. So in our Final Four, we have 2-seed Michigan State, 12-seed Colorado State, 7-seed St. Mary's, and 4-seed Purdue. And yes, the furthest that a 1-seed has gone in this simulation was 1-seed Duke. So no 1-seeds in the Final Four. So starting off in our first Final Four game. And so starting off in our first Final Four game, we got Michigan State against Colorado State. In the battle of the green teams on St. Patrick's Day. And the green team that is driving to the championship game, Michigan State, in the NCAA Game Simulator. And now for the other Final Four game. Now for the other Final Four game, we got Purdue and St. Mary's. And it has Purdue to the national title game. So we got battle of two Big Ten teams in the national title game. So it all comes down to this now. We got Michigan State and Purdue in the national title game in the NCAA Game Simulator bracket. So for the moment of truth, winning it all in the NCAA Game Simulator bracket is Michigan State, beating Purdue as they win it all in the NCAA Game Simulator bracket. So let's submit this. We'll skip this stuff here. But here we go. Michigan State wins it all in the bracket predicted by the NCAA Game Simulator. this was a lot of fun to make, and yeah, we had a lot of crazy results in this bracket predicted by the NCAA Game Simulator. But I'll see you guys later, and stay tuned for more wacky brackets of mine.